What if your credit card isn't funding your lifestyle anymore, but quietly funding your survival?
Because millions of Americans aren't swiping for vacations. They're swiping for groceries, bills, and emergencies. And the dangerous part isn't the purchase itself. It's what happens when interest starts charging you every month. A balance that looks manageable today can become tomorrow's financial trap if you keep carrying it.
And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the debt cycle starts, grows, and finally breaks.
Meet Mike. He earns a decent paycheck, pays his bills, and still feels strangely broke every month. His paycheck arrives, but before he can enjoy it, rent, utilities, food, and insurance take their share. Then one unexpected expense hits, and suddenly, the money left in his account isn't enough. So Mike reaches for his credit card, telling himself he'll pay it off after the next paycheck. But then another bill arrives, and another swipe feels easier than admitting the budget is already broken. Mike checks his statement and sees a surprisingly small minimum payment, so he feels relieved for now. But minimum payments can stretch repayment for years, especially when interest keeps adding to the balance.
Here's the frustrating part. Mike keeps paying, but the balance barely seems to move.
That happens because part of each payment can go toward interest before reducing the original balance. And once Mike carries that balance forward, the next month starts with yesterday's debt already waiting. Mike finally realizes something important. The credit card isn't creating the problem, it's revealing the problem. If more money leaves every month than comes in, borrowing simply hides that gap temporarily. That's why another credit card rarely fixes the situation. It can simply create another place to borrow. The real breakthrough comes when Mike stops asking, "How do I borrow more?" and asks, "Where is my money going?" And that question leads to the most powerful financial habit: knowing your cash flow before it disappears. Mike starts tracking every dollar. He expects subscriptions and coffee to be the biggest problem. But his tracking reveals something more important. Housing, transportation, and food consume most of his monthly cash. That changes the strategy, because cutting every small pleasure won't fix a budget dominated by major fixed expenses. For Mike, one expensive car decision matters far more than skipping a few coffees every week. So instead of chasing tiny savings, Mike begins looking for the few decisions that can actually move his entire budget. Mike now has one goal: stop adding new debt, while aggressively attacking the balance he already owes. He keeps making every required payment, then directs extra money toward one targeted debt at a time. Some people prefer the highest interest debt first because it can reduce interest costs over time. Others choose the smallest balance first, creating quick wins that can make staying motivated easier. The important part isn't choosing the perfect method. It's choosing a strategy Mike can actually follow consistently. Mike pays down his card. But then another emergency appears, threatening to restart the entire debt cycle. That's why an emergency fund matters. It gives unexpected expenses somewhere to come from, besides your credit card. It doesn't need to become huge overnight. Even a starter cushion can create breathing room. Mike starts with small automatic transfers, making saving happen before the money gets spent elsewhere. Now, when life surprises Mike, his first reaction isn't reaching for plastic. It's checking the money he already saved. Mike realizes cutting expenses has a limit, but increasing income can create an entirely different financial advantage. Even a modest raise, extra shift, freelance job, or useful skill can create additional cash flow.
Mike doesn't immediately chase every side hustle. He chooses one realistic option that fits his schedule.
His extra income isn't for lifestyle upgrades. At first, it goes toward debt and building financial breathing room. This creates a powerful cycle. Less debt lowers pressure, while more income gives Mike greater control. Once Mike has breathing room, he learns that emergency savings and investment money have very different jobs. Emergency money needs to stay accessible because unexpected expenses don't wait for the market to recover. Long-term investing is different because its goal is to give money time to potentially grow. Mike also realizes that investing doesn't magically fix bad spending habits. The foundation still comes first. Now Mike isn't just trying to survive each month. He's finally building a system that can survive with him. But there's one final habit Mike has to confront: using credit whenever his checking account feels uncomfortable.
Instead of asking, "Can I put this on my card?" he starts asking, "Can I actually afford this?"
That tiny change sounds simple, but it separates planned spending from borrowing money to cover a lifestyle. Mike doesn't become perfect overnight. He simply stops turning every financial mistake into new debt. And slowly, the credit card changes from a financial lifeline into what it was supposed to be: a payment tool. Mike's story is fictional, but the pressure behind it is very real for households trying to balance rising costs and limited cash flow. When essentials consume more of the paycheck, there's less room for emergencies, savings, and long-term goals. And when savings are too small, even one unexpected bill can push a family back toward a credit card. That's why building even a small cash buffer can be more powerful than it looks. Because the goal isn't to become rich overnight. It's to make the next financial emergency less destructive. Once Mike stops adding new debt, every payment finally starts moving him in the right direction. Then something psychological happens. Every month without new debt starts feeling like a small financial victory. The money that once disappeared into interest can eventually start building savings instead. That is the turning point. The same paycheck begins producing progress, instead of constantly repairing yesterday's spending. And eventually, Mike reaches the moment when a surprise bill no longer automatically means reaching for plastic. The real goal was never to stop using credit cards completely. It was to stop depending on them to survive. Because financial freedom doesn't begin when you make millions. It begins when your money starts giving you choices. So if your credit card is helping you survive right now, don't judge yourself. Start by understanding why. Then change one thing. Create a little breathing room. Stop adding unnecessary debt. And give every dollar a job. Because the moment your paycheck stops rescuing the past and starts building your future, the entire money story can change.